Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. It is markets in the morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is Tuesday, April 16th, 2024. Welcome to Markets in the Morning, where we take a look at the price action at the cryptocurrency market, including the Bitcoin price chart and the altcoin market. We take a peek over there at the United States stock market as it gets set to open. I think we've got a little bit of a positive opening scheduled on the agenda today for the stock market, at least in the Dow. Let's take a look. I'm gonna just peek real quick. The Dow's up 224, but you got the NASDAQ that is down 8 points, which is almost flat. The S&P is up 3 points, which is almost flat. And the Russell is down about 1%. Of course, because we have absolutely no breadth here in the United States stock market. Taking a look over there at crypto, everything is just, it's still just, we'll peek at it closely, but still we're just kind of ranging from the fall, of course, that we had throughout the weekend. We'll take a peek over there at any type of financial news to kick off the day and any type of crypto news to kick off the day. And then we'll all be on our merry way to enjoy whatever we have going on today. I have a Twitter Spaces today at 12 p.m. Eastern time with the Genfinity guys. So I do that about once a month, once every other month. Be hanging out over there on Twitter at noon. Otherwise, we'll take a peek at what's going on in the market. You got Bitcoin sitting here at 63,265. You got others still just waddling around in there after the big ABC correction came in here, which we talked about all last week. And as I said, building cash position here for the last month and a half, Sebastian. If you watch the channel, maybe you'd know that. But well, things have really stabilized in here right now. Just trying to see if we can go ahead and start getting some standard looking recovery procedures to happen in here. This is very normal to have a pullback in here. As I mentioned over the weekend, and as I showed in yesterday's video, we got an entry in there at $227 billion on others there. Grabbed the altcoin market, took 20% right there, and now just holding on in case we go any lower, which I don't suspect that we will. So things kind of watching out here for the next 2 days are just for things to really stabilize where they are right now. And then to go, probably go a little bit higher and then just keep pulling back down in here and kind of kill sentiment here for a little bit as we still just have an ABC correction so far right now. And so we'll look at that a little bit closer here in a little while. Ethereum, of course, bouncing throughout all of the Fibonacci extensions up in here, still holding Bitcoin. We'll talk about this too. One thing that we've talked about with on-chain activity, we talked about altcoin market, is the similarities of price action being right over there back in like January and February of 2021. And that's also very similar to what was happening with the altcoin market as it got back to its retraces at those particular times. Of course, the big concern, which we've talked about for 2 months, Sebastian, has been that we hit the 702 Fibonacci retracement level. Pinpoint nailed it and screamed about it for very long. And of course, that has been our struggle point that we have been at. But now that we have had an ABC corrective structure show up in here, now we can start to look for things to get more optimistic and stop being so worried. What's not ironic about the prices falling back? Stock market. Hey, the stock market has been down for the last couple of weeks over in here. But we'll see if the stock market can find a little bit of stability now. That next Fed meeting isn't coming up until May 1st. We'll see what they have to say at that time. Either way, as the stock market gets open, you can see over there, we do have United Health leading the way there. United Health, if you don't know, is the number one asset by allocation in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, so the Dow 30. It's the 30 largest companies in the US, and United Health is the largest one in there. It makes up over 10% of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So you can see United Health is actually up 7% today. So being up 7%, there you go. Otherwise, you got a mixed board over there. You got Tesla, Roblox, Coinbase, ARK, all down over 1%, including Ford. Biggest herders of the day are Roblox and Tesla and Coinbase. Looking at the indexes, again, like we said prior to opening, you got Dow up to over 200 points, but you got the S&P flat at only up 1 point, and then you have the NASDAQ down 6 points. So that's about flat too. So I'd call it a flat for S&P and for NASDAQ. But as you can see, why would the Dow be up 200 points when you have so much red on the board? It's that United Health, because United Health makes up 10% of the Dow Jones and over 10% of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So let's put it on the daily. There you go. It shows a red bar even though you're up 200 because of the gap up that happened overnight. So it still looks red because once we opened a couple of minutes ago, it's probably shifted down since the opening. So we gap up, and then if you shift down after opening, you're going to see a red bar. But we know that we are up 195 points to kick off the day for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. As for Bitcoin, let's see. Do we want to start here? Do we want to start here? I think we'll start with Bitcoin. So $1 million question, of course, is the top end for Bitcoin right now. People asked all last week, people have been asking for months to give predictions for how high Bitcoin could go, which is just a topic I'm not really willing to touch because I'm not comfortable with it because things don't seem right. But if you look at on-chain activity, right, and you look at on-chain data of similarities to like 2020 and 2021 on just where Bitcoin is in regards to on-chain activity and data, being in this area is very similar to being in here. And that's one thing that we've talked about for the last couple of months in here. Things you can look at is what the corrective structure did look like back in there, in that you did have like an ABC correction that did emerge in here, right? So there's an ABC correction, and then what happens? Then we have Tesla buying. You have the added to the balance sheet. Of course, we're in earnings season right now. We will be for the next couple of weeks. So we'll see if anything happens in regards to the ETF being added, if that becomes the exact same topping narrative that we ended up having in 2021. But if you look a little bit closer at where we're at right now, things are not all that different from that time, and trying to work out an ABC correction in here. I'll just go grab some price actions in here. There we go. Sorry. There you go. Nothing too dramatically different in regards to an ABC at this point yet, right? Obviously, we already know the altcoin market pulled way down here, right? That's how far we've come down for the altcoin market, but Bitcoin's still just kind of holding itself in right here. So no evidence of anything crazy happening for Bitcoin just yet. We haven't seen altcoin behavior as if being in distribution or being in expansion yet. One of the things that I've said is that I've said this for quite a while now, is that anybody using the 2020 modeling of Bitcoin and the crypto market, and also using the 2016 and 2017 modeling, is that it will not be like that. And that, in these environments, what are we seeing? We're seeing expansions happening. But that if we were even going to use any of these models, all the price indications actually suggest being more something like this way up in here. Because what we shouldn't see is pullbacks from retracement levels with the altcoin market if we were in these environments, because these are expansion environments. Why would we be doing that up in here? So I think having to look at it through this picture of a different light is going to end up proving to be important. And again, like it doesn't change in this market. The sentiment stays the same. It did not matter that we got back to the 702 Fibonacci retracement. The people who knew about this retracement level, went through all of this. They knew through all of that. Once you got into it, nobody cared. It became just a non-issue for people. It didn't matter how much I screamed. Sebastian. Didn't matter. These things still happen. Anyway, I don't know. Let's talk about this. So that's just kind of the thing on Bitcoin, waiting to see if this actually is just more of an ABC correction happening in here and a narrative shift to start changing up in here. Looking more towards the altcoin market, this is a very standard correction. I'm not going to go too deep into it because we've talked about it throughout yesterday's market in the morning, and we talked about it with the video that I put out yesterday. This we'll do this too. Just kind of give you like real breakdowns on it, just to even see it structurally on how it happens in here. Like if you studied this whole structure in here and you just kind of ignored this little parabola that happens here, right? You just go like that and just ignore the whole parabola, but watch everything else that happens in there, right? The high with the attempted high and the failure, the high with the attempted high and the failure, the first pullback and then the real one, the first pullback and then the real one, retracement, retracement, fall, 2 bounces, fall, 2 bounces, the break below, the capitulation, the bull flag, the breakout, the violent back test, right? It's got all the markers of it right in there. So now it is time to be looking to see if we can recover and get back to the retracements and then get the true expansion happening over here in the altcoin market. So I'm optimistic finally. The last month and a half has been torturous coming on here. Had to pay a big price. You get a lot of content creators posturing against you, trying to make a name for yourself. You watch your viewership numbers go down. You watch all the back end data go down. I had somebody comment in the stream last week. They were like, yeah, I just haven't wanted to tune in for the last, month hearing it. And it's like, I get it. It's not something that people want to hear. But now we get to go back to being the good guy, the positive, optimistic guy. But we're going to have lots of people like Sebastian. The toxicity is going to return. The pessimism and sadness and the self-preservation mode is going to kick in here. So the thing we're just watching for is to get very clear recovery structures. This is capitulation. This is violence. This is madness. We're through it. Time to perk up a little bit over here on the channel for me. If you're new to this, if you forgot how it goes, this is how it goes. When things are down, things look good. They look like we can try to find bottoms. What do? I come out, I'm positive, optimistic, outlooking, looking forward, thinking, hey, we could recover from these types of things. But what people forget is when we get high and we get excessive, I turn the opposite, right? And we always want to hear the positives, but this is normal behavior. We get high, I get worried and concerned. We get low, we look for things that have confluence to say that that's a pretty good chance for a bottom to start forming in here. Let's become the optimistic thing. So that's what we're looking for right now. So really in this next week, the thing that I'm really looking for is some type of supports to start showing up in here and to get the first showing of some strength to actually emerge in here. I don't think we're going to break out. I think we'll fail from there. But to actually see the first signs of like strength to show in here for a big pop-up to happen in there. I think we'll pull back afterwards, but I think a good observation to see in this moment will be which coins are showing some strength in that. Which coins are showing a quicker recovery and that they were the first ones to really get scooped up in all of this, right? What did the smart money kind of go after, right? Because I guarantee there's going to be some stuff they didn't go after. There's going to be some stuff they all piled in and did, and kind of keeping an eye on that to see where the money really went. So that's what I'll kind of be paying attention to. But the very first phase that we need to see, of course, is a little bit of strength in here. But very normal to get the first initial reaction off the lows come out of here, get a pullback, and then try to see a little more strength emerge after this. So otherwise, things are still okay. Things are still fine. But now we're just kind of waiting to see more reactions come out of here, more pushers up to come in here too. So otherwise, things look fine. As for Bitcoin, we already talked about it. Just kind of waiting to see if this is an ABC correction again. Even if this thing goes higher, right? Which I can remain completely indifferent in the camp of a full-blown long distribution phase happening in here. I can remain in all of them, and that all we end up getting is something like that, and then we end up getting the whole rally to happen here into the retracement, similar to as we did right here. I can get on camp with that. It's fine with me. I'm not sitting here chasing Bitcoin. I can get on camp that we're, still have one more push to go, and then we go into full-blown distribution happening here. I can be on either one. For me, my shots that I'm going to be taking are not going to be for Bitcoin. It's going to be for the rest of the market, and that's of course all data backed, right? It's data backed on how previous cycles have performed and how distributions and expansions to behave. So Yeah. All right. So that's what we're kind of waiting on for Bitcoin, and then waiting on some more reactions to happen here in the altcoin market as things do look okay. I am more than thrilled to be beyond this moment. Again, like I keep saying, I don't want to say I'm sorry for being like negative Nancy for a month and a half, but it's just it's what it was, and I'm glad we are behind it, and I'm glad we get to look at it through the positive lens again. Again, these were all just fantastic structures that we have so far, and fingers crossed we're golden, baby. All right, F 3069 XRP 4849. Again, this thing I fully believe is entirely dependent on us actually doing this. As long as we are recovering, as long as this thing goes, that'll likely be the breakout time for XRP at the same time. Otherwise, this has just been a long range and not a lot to say. We can theorize. Crash, retrace, reaccumulation continues on. But right now we're just waiting on the market to do more. You could even see a Wyckoff happening in here. But again, what a disappointment. What a disappointment for XRP for sure. Otherwise, still just sitting there. Dow Jones Industrial Average pulling back now from the opening of being plus 200, now at plus 100. United Health, still the thing holding it up 5.75%. Tesla, loser this morning, down 3.42%. NASDAQ is up 1 point. S&P is down 6 points. Precious metals, looking over there at gold, 2376. Of course, we've been screaming about this for the last couple of months, that this is a concern. We're seeing it all manifest now. And that's the thing about stuff, is kind of trying to recognize it with foresight rather than hindsight, because we all have 20/20 hindsight. But when you try to look at things with foresight, it's the big thing, right? And so that's been the big thing. Of course, now we see the Dow falling, the inverse relationship between the two. Now it's time to see if gold will actually settle down and the Dow can actually find some support levels in here to start trying to, at a minimum, try to at least get a retracement to come out of this thing in here. And in a retracement, will that be where we really see the whole show conclude for Bitcoin, right? Again, I think a lot of people probably realizing it, if you haven't realized it, because we've talked about this so much. And it's something to think about, okay? If you have been a denier of it, just to think about it for a minute. The correlation between equity markets and the crypto market, and the inverse relationship between equities, crypto, and then gold. And those inverse relationships happening in there. There's way too much narrative spinning in here that happens that says we are correlated to gold. That's not true. It's never been true. And that's why we keep talking about these things. That's why we've been having this come up on the screen for 2 weeks, saying this is odd. This is strange that Bitcoin's still holding. I think I even tweeted it Friday morning, the day before the liquidations happened, being like, it is just blatantly bizarre to have DXY at 106, gold in full-blown breakout, and Bitcoin's still above $70,000. This is the historical behavior of true expansions happening for Bitcoin, is that gold is getting pummeled and wrecked, and that Bitcoin expands when this is occurring, that not this. This has historically been a big warning sign there for stocks and equity markets. And this is what the last 6 months have been for equity markets. Now look, that's very different of any type of behavior that has happened since October. And so we're seeing that now, of course, as we're having full-blown breakout happening over here in gold. So it's a fascinating thing to witness. So pivotal moment in time, right? And so we'll see what will, my thoughts are best case scenario. Best case scenario is that we find some support in stock market, some type of retrace, and these things can be, as you can see in here, like this one right here, you get a little bit more. Otherwise, this one just falls out of itself. looking back to GFC. And I'm not going to go into all details on these. If this is your first time tuning in, just know we have talked about these things in detail. I've written newsletters on this thing. We've talked about this stuff 100 times. I'm actually just respecting the people that have seen it 1,000 times by not going into too much detail. But you can see the first initial big falls, right? Then you get another bounce in there. So it could just retrace. It could set another high, But that's kind of the thing that we're cheering for, and that's really my thoughts on where the bulk of action would happen in crypto if we are to get it, if we're able to hold these support levels that we're at right now, probably get it all in here. But then to kind of watch out afterwards, watch out what happens after there. So, all right, there you go. That's what you got. Bitcoin 62,243. Others still waddling around in there. XRP, same story at 48. Dow now up 90. Gold 2374. And that's it. That's all of your prices. J-Rock's own ZX49011 says, BCB, I know you keep saying you haven't felt good about your honest opinion on the market, but a lot of us are here because of your honesty. I'm sure of it. Been here since 2022, 22 cents. Thank you. Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. It's just been a real weird time for me. And then you get comments like that from Sebastian. On just what the last 2 years of work have been like. It was very difficult going through 2022 and 2023 here on the channel because for those who stayed here during that time, it was very toxic, right? And so many TA experts out there saying we're going, completely hedging all their words, incapable of coming up with any type of opinion. But we stuck really strong with it through 2022 and 2023 that this is Wyckoff accumulation and that we were going to break out, right? We stuck with it. Even when we got here, what did we say this was? This was sign of strength phase, right? And then another move up. Then it got real concerning. And then it's the first time since 2023, or 2022, 2023, for me to show any real actual concern happening in here. And then there was a lot of grifting content creators who tried to seize that opportunity to capitalize on the euphoria in the market and to try to make a name for themselves, and of course use my name at the exact same time. That's always, and so then then you just get tons of people tweeting at you, and then all of a sudden, when you feel like, hey, cool, we got this big victory, we got out of here, then it's like what we always talked about is how there would be so much euphoria, so much extreme risk taking, and then we get here. And then during that moment, rather than it being like, dang, all right, cool, wow, it's gotten up here. It's more of, it was the other turn. It was the other way around. It was the same thing as at the bottom. It was the same thing of where people are screaming and hate you because all the professional TA guys are saying we're going to 12K. And then they hate you because all the professionals say we're going to a bajillion. And so that was just a real weird environment for me to come out of there. And but I still stuck to it, even though not feeling. I mean, look, it's not like everything ran up or anything like that. It's nothing crazy, right? But there was just signs of concerns in there. And I'm just happy to be beyond that. I'm real happy to be beyond that. I hope that nobody here used leverage. Fortunately, the day before, the morning before, I gave a big lecture on leverage, and hopefully nobody here did it. Because like we talked about that day, you could recover from this. You can recover from a 60% fall. We even showed the COVID crash. You can recover from a 70% fall. You can't recover when everything gets wiped out. Anyway, I don't know. The point I'm getting at is it sucked. And the reason it sucked is just we haven't had to be like that at all for the last year and a half. For the last year and a half, we've gotten to be bullzillas, right? Even getting up in here, no worries about this. This is just a sign of strength phase to get out of here. And then it was like the true discussions of worry and stuff like that. And I don't like being like that. It's not fun because we want to make money. right? We want to make money. We don't want to sit around and wait for prices to fall. It's not fun. And so I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, we'll move on. I'll shashola. Anyhow, I am optimistic though. I appreciate the kind words, but I am optimistic right now. Of course, that is to make sure that the sky is not falling. I don't believe the sky to be falling. I think the sky already fell, and that's what has me optimistic. But you know, of course, you're going to want to see some supports come in for the Dow Jones Industrial Average or for the United States stock market. Hate it or love it, believe it or don't. You finally are having pullbacks happening in the crypto market for the first time. Of course, as you can see, that's the biggest pullback that we have seen the whole way up. And when is that happening? That is happening during the biggest pull down in the stock market since the whole ride up. So we would like to see some supports come in for the United States stock market. And yeah, I don't know, but I don't know. I'm optimistic just structurally. That this is the things that we do look for. And like every time I do this, that we have the things that we want. Oh, no, she didn't. All right, PTW brought me a Monster energy drink to fuel the spice. Sorry about that. I hard swallowed into the microphone, and that is the thing that absolutely infuriates me. And I did it to you. I apologize. Okay, there you go. That's what you got. Bitcoin 62,391. Others just looking there for supports to still keep on chilling in here. Again, this is very standard, typical price action to have to bounce around and have volatility in here after something like this. We're looking for things to kind of settle down, hold some supports, and show a little bit of strength to shoot its way up in here. Again, even if we do, I'm not actually going to get too excited about doing that. For me, it'll be more confirmations that this likely is the bottom in the event that we get that. But I will still consider this to actually just be ranging, and that we still will likely come right back to where we are at today. Even in the event that we do get something like that, it will just provide more optimism that boom, we have price behavior acting like that was it. That was the flash. So here in the next day or two, looking for supports to really just kind of show up and hold themselves, you know, in these areas, and to give a little bit of a push up. And I'm optimistic that we will. So, okay. I think that's it. I think I've rambled long enough. Stock market up 120 points, of course, after just being obliterated for the last couple of weeks, as does crypto. And of course, that comes off of gold just absolutely soaring and roaring. DXY, do I even have the DXY screen open? No. DXY in the danger zone, right? 106.25. No surprise. That's another thing to think about. The DXY closed at 106.01. We've made videos, live streams, everything about those dangers of that 106. And it just so happened to be that's where it closes. That's what eventually leads to price capitulation and price behavior to act the way it does. So keeping an eye on this to make sure this thing isn't getting carried away. But here we are at 106. And of course, we have the stock market pulling back strongly. Each time we have seen us get above 106, this has historically been bad for the stock market. Big, long range that has happened here for the DXY. Last thing you'd probably want to see is to see us actually get an escape to happen in here for the DXY and to get roaring on its way up. But we are in a danger zone for DXY right now. But I think we've already seen the worst of it over here. So, okay. That's it. I think that's all we got for today. Bitcoin's still just waddling around. We'll keep monitoring this thing to see if an ABC correction starts to really form itself in here and get more clarity in here. Others looking for supports to hold in here throughout the next day or two. And hopefully by the end of the week, we actually do have some optimistic conditions actually showing up in here, confirming things. And then hopefully we see some supports come in for the stock market and that DXY start to really calm down. As for news going on out there, financial news today, Bank of America tops estimates on better than expected interest income investment banking. Dow futures rise 200 points on strong earnings as benchmark tries a snap 6-day slide. AMD rolls out its latest chips for AI PCs as competition with Nvidia and Intel heats up. IMF upgrades global growth forecast as economy proves surprisingly resilient despite downside risk. Tesla job cuts heighten Wall Street concerns that EV maker faces a demand problem. If you're worried about a correction and overinvested in Nvidia, check out these steady growth stocks. Hey, I want to show you something. I'm going to steal this from TXMC's Twitter account. Dude, the dude's on a tweet madness. One thing we talk about a lot on here, and this is just something to think about. I'm not here to scare the daylights out of you when it comes to the United States stock market, but maybe I am. One thing we've talked about a lot has been the lack of breadth in the United States stock market, and the concerns of that, in that those are we've spent a lot of time showing what the 2013, 2017, and 2021 bull runs looked like for the cryptocurrency market, and how the expansions of Bitcoin all happened during periods of expansion in the United States stock market. I even put out a video last week where I showed the presentation that I delivered when I went to Australia last month. And even in that presentation in front of hundreds of people, not scared to say that, because it's data, it's not an opinion, it's purely data backed, that there has been expansions that have happened in the Russell 2000 along with the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ at the very same time. And what we clearly see is that the run that is happening here in the United States stock market is incredibly isolated to big names, whereas the rest of the market is not participating. That it is only a handful of stocks in the big picture of the stock market of what is actually participating in this move. And we've talked about that in depth. And there hasn't been a period of any of this growth in here where the Russell 2000 did not break out with the Dow or ahead of the Dow. It has not happened in any time periods. This is the only time period it has happened, and it got back to its 618 retracement level, and then it fell back. And I thought this was a really great series of quotes that TXMC had shared in regards to previous periods where things like this happened, where people are looking back on what happened during the 1970s or during 1929 and what happened. And these are quotes. We're just going to read these real quick. TXMC shared them, and just hear this out, okay? Just listen to this for a second. If you are Bullzilla that the Fed is going to cut and it's going to send everything to the moon, that there is this very fascinating price behavior happening in the market where it's super isolated, and not the whole market is participating, and that has not been the case at any point, in the last 15 years, and has not been the case in any of the expansions that have happened and the expansions for Bitcoin, okay? The 1929 boom was, in fact, quite a narrow and selective one. We're talking about, what are we talking about? We're talking about the roaring 20s that led to the Great Depression, okay? The 1929 boom was, in fact, quite a narrow and selective one. It was a boom of the handful of stocks that figured in the daily calculation of the Dow Jones and the New York Times indices. And that was why those well-publicized indexes were at record highs. It was also a boom for the most actively traded stocks bearing the names of the most celebrated companies. The stocks mentioned daily by the newspapers and millions of times by the boardroom habitues, and that was why it was constantly talked about. But it was emphatically not a boom of secondary stocks in which perhaps as many investors were interested. Right? What does it say? It was just a handful of stocks that ended up leading to that. It was massive consolidation. All right. We're going to move forward to the next one. The Nifty 50 appeared to rise up from the ocean. It was as though all of the United States but Nebraska had sunk into the sea. The two-tier market really consisted of one tier and a lot of rubble down below. What held the Nifty 50 up? The same thing that held up tulip bulb prices long ago in Holland. Popular delusions of the madness of crowds. The delusion was that these companies were so good that it didn't matter what you paid for them. Their well, I don't know that word. Inexorable growth would bail you out. And then last one, right? This is from 2000. The market is in a two-tier frenzy between the new economy stocks and the old economy stocks. What's our new economy stocks right now? Say it. You know the word. What is the new economy? What is everybody throwing their money at? What is going to be our new world that we all live in? AI, right? It's going to run the world, right? The market is in a two-tier frenzy between the new economy stocks and the old economy stocks. Anyone who has studied the concept stock mania of 1968 to 1969 or the Nifty 50 mania of 1972 has to be getting chills here. We've seen two-tiered markets before, most prominently in 1929, 1968 to 69, and 1972. The inconvenient fact is that valuation ultimately matters. That has led to the rather peculiar risk projections that have appeared in this letter in recent months. Trend uniformity helps to postpone that reality, but in the end, there it is. Given current market conditions, it is increasingly likely that valuations will begin to matter with a vengeance. And what we're seeing is something very similar happening in the stock market right now that happened many, many years ago. All these time periods, except for, the dot-com bubble, but I was a young buck then, I don't know, college, right? Not paying attention too closely, right? But the 70s was before my time, right? 1929. Yeah, I kind of remember that time, but no, obviously 100 years ago, right? So we have to go back and look at history and see what happened during those time periods. And during those time periods, it was a two-tiered market where it was really isolated into just a handful of stocks and narratives and assets, whereas as they described it, the rubble of the rest of the market. And will we consider this to be the rubble of the rest of the market? And it's real fascinating that we are seeing that same dynamic happening here in the United States stock market. And as somebody had pointed out, which I haven't had time to look at, looking at other world indices, that they're experiencing the same thing of this consolidation style behavior into a handful of assets and not the whole market, not the whole stock market. So it's an interesting time. And like I've mentioned before, I don't know, did I take this off the screen? No, there you go. Right? Like if you have like a Hartford retirement 2055 or something like that, right? That you're down here, right? Like you're not looking like the Dow Jones Industrial Average. You're not breaking out like you did back in 2020. You're not breaking out like you did in 2016 and 17, and you're not breaking out like you did over here in 2013, like you did with the Russell and you did with the Dow. But your retirement's down here still. You're looking like that, the rubble. And that's a very fascinating dynamic happening in the market right now. And thought we'd talk about that again, because it's weird. It's something we have not seen during the whole rally up. And why I keep saying, I don't think this is going to behave the way people think it's going to behave, because it has behaved during expansions. And that's what we showed last week. Every Bitcoin bull run, all of them, 2013, 2017, and 2021, happened during periods of expansionary times in the United States stock market. And we're not seeing that right now. And everybody's referencing these periods of expansion in the stock market, which we don't have right now. So we're playing in a new arena right now. And that's just the point I'm trying to make. If we just sit here and black reward halving for your cycle, dismantled all of those last week. 40-minute video of the presentation that I gave. Stood in front of hundreds of people. No, all that's stupid. Right? So we're in a new arena. That's just the point of it all. All right, there you go. Looking for things to settle down here. as we go through the rest of the day in the market. I think we've pretty much covered. I haven't done crypto news yet. Oh gosh. All right, more monster. Here we go. Oh boy. All right, here we go. Crypto news. Stocks and crypto at the edge of a significant correction. Oh my gosh. All right, we just spent a month and a half talking about this. And what did I say even last Friday? I said, once the correction happens, once the prices fall, all the content is going to change to negative Nancy crap because it pays, because this is what people will click on now. When prices are up and you want Moon, you're going to click Moon content. You're going to gravitate towards your biases and what your emotional edge is. After prices fall, what's the first headline on here? Significant correction. It just fell days ago. You're a little late there. Okay, how low can Bitcoin price go? An analysis disputes a black swan event. The real risk to Athena's stablecoin model are not the ones you think. 70K Bitcoin price by the halving. 5 things to know about Bitcoin this week. We got to make sure that we hedge that by saying 70K. Hong Kong's Ether Bitcoin ETFs will be lucky to get $500 million. It's very possible, right? The United States is the most sought after market to participate in the world, and nothing comes close to the United States. Only 6 altcoins in the top 50 have outperformed Bitcoin this year. Yep, we talked about that yesterday. Bitcoin miners, after the correction, that became true. Like, I haven't run the numbers, but I just believe it. Bitcoin miners could dump $5 billion in Bitcoin after the halving. Yeah, right. Disable iMessages ASAP to avoid crypto zero-day exploit, says Trust Wallet. Yeah, I don't know about that, but I did see that tweet there. Eric shared that with me, showing that there's something. So I don't know if they're going to put out an update or what they're going to do. What to expect at Changpeng Zhao's sentencing on April 30th. I don't know. What do you think is going to happen to him? You know, the reality of growing a lot of businesses and dealing with a lot of things and getting a competitive advantage, and you may not like it. But in the game of business like that, many times, and I'm not saying it's right, but you can clearly see what he did. And he went with a common business model of it's better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. You know you're going to get a no if you ask for permission. So better to ask for forgiveness. So rather than asking, just do it and then ask for forgiveness and hope it pans out. So we're going to watch. I think he knew what he was doing, right? But we'll see if the forgiveness factor weighs out. What do they pay? What do they pay? $4 billion? $4 billion? Is that much they paid? Oh, look at this headline, man. John Deaton's crypto backers help outraise Warren in Senate race. Yeah, John Deaton raised more money in Q1 than Elizabeth Warren did. He did state, though, that Elizabeth Warren does already have a $4 million war chest, which I believe John raised like 1.3 versus her 1.1 million in Q1. But to remember that Warren has $4 million, and she's also got all of her friends in DC probably to help her out, too. So I hope John, I think that's the thing that makes me the most nervous about John is that she knows how to play political games, and she can do much more than just run a fair election. I guarantee it will be nasty. It will be nasty, and she's got all the tools to play the nasty game. And I hope John has the tools to play those type of nasty games back, because that's how she's going to play for sure. All right. There you go. But there we go. There we go. John Deaton outraised. CoinDesk. Bitcoin could surge to 120K on Doomsday Rally. Hey, sweet. Look at this. What the headline we get from CoinDesk is Bitcoin could surge to 100K. The headline we get from Cointelegraph is we're on the edge of the significant correction. Either way, Bitcoin back to 62.8, and we're holding up in here, still holding things around here in the altcoin market after our big moves, right? So what are we on? What day are we on? Right? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We've held here for 3 days now, right? So just a wild 36 hours. Now we've held for 3 days. Good signs in here. Good signs. All right, I think we're done. Nothing has changed in the market, as you can see. I think that's the main point. Nothing has changed. And actually, nothing changing is a good thing right now, because what we're looking for is a little bit of stability, and then eventually looking for a little bit of confirmation to show up in here, which I think we've already gotten, but this would definitely add more to it. But I think we'll still range, and then things can eventually shift their way up. But holding steady, that's what we're looking for right now. We've got it after all the chaos. Feels good to be back. All right, we're hopping into the chat. 44-minute ramble. Can I get through this in 16 minutes? We'll sure try. Andy Philpott gifted. By the way, guys, I appreciate you all for tuning in. We've got 2,600 people in here. We've got 817 likes. If you could, hit that like button. And right now, it's simple. You just close the chat, hit like, then hit live chat again. It comes right back up. And if not, man, at least on your way out the door, if you don't mind hitting the like, it's number one way to support the channel. Andy Philpott gifted 5 BC. And that's the same goes for all the videos, guys. I always appreciate that. I still think to myself, man, when I put out a video, it gets over 3,000 likes. And that 3,000 of you go out of your way to hit the like button every time. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Maddie B, member for 15 months. Are your base... All your base belong to us. Is there any hope for XRP? There's hope for XRP based on the exact things that I talked about last week. If the market can break out, XRP can go on the show with it. There's no examples of XRP doing anything else on its own at all. Zero. So the market conditions are the requirement. If we get this here in the altcoin market, yes, lots of hope for XRP. If you didn't watch the 40-minute video last week, I would suggest watching that. It just paints the very real picture of it all. We need to see the altcoin market go if XRP wants a chance. And that, of course, goes against everybody's thought process of flipping the switch, or the narratives upon narratives, the secrets upon secrets, the riddlers who know inside things about the ECB and BRICS and all these things that they think, right? That narrative is not acceptable for that group of people, and is what it is. But the data is clear and consistent. We try to stick to data here, and the data says you have to have this condition. Deladova says, can we compare the 2017 broken triangle for XRP? Well, I think what he's talking about is this. Shortly before you ended up actually going, you broke down. It was the first time to set any lower lows right before it actually ended up going. But thank you, brother. Pat, my man, Pat, you're staying up late, dude. And you're even active in the chat. You're supposed to be sleeping. Pat, I appreciate it, man. You gifted 10. Bread Garlic House. What's your thoughts on Arrow Finance? Is it good price to get in? Thanks. Well, the price is really hot. I like Arrow because I'm doing automatic market making on it. And it pays pretty good. That's one of those base things. Oh, I haven't even talked about that. If you guys have not checked out the newsletter, it was a big one put out there talking about base, and Arrow Finance is the biggest TVL over there on base. The price may be a little high on Arrow, but for me, I've got it, but I'm using it. I've also got it into a making pool on Arrow Finance within base Coinbase wallet. So I'm also earning at the same time. So that kind of changes things a little bit. But price, you may be waiting on a little bit more of a correction to show up in here after, setting the high, failing, then retracing. It may still be pulling back down a little bit lower on this one. This one actually held up very well during everything that went on in crypto, as you can clearly see. This thing, this is the low of April 7th. This is the low of February 24th. We're talking about the altcoin market just got back to where February 24th, way down here, Arrow still at $1.71, whereas February 24th is all the way down here at 9 cents. So it's been a big run from Arrow. It's already gone from 9 cents to $1.73. For this one in particular, it's already had, you know, a top, a retracement. This thing may waddle and still have more correcting to do in here. For me though, I've got it just because I've got it put over there in the pool. And so it's paying 230% APY. Might be a big risk. I don't recommend doing it. It might be a big risk. But that's kind of my mindset with that one in particular. But if I was going to be grabbing this one just in particular to be like, hey, does it have a whole lot more room to go on it? If base continues to grow at the rapid rate that it is growing at, which we show in here, the contract deployment, NFTs, memes. You like Solana? You like sitting there daydreaming on Solana, but you're tired of failed transactions? You'll see. And somebody asked, are you paid by Coinbase? No. No. I think I described it. They can take it up the backside in yesterday's live stream. But I would definitely, if you are not familiar with Base and you want to get ahead of the trend, I would definitely check out the newsletter, blockchainbacker.substack.com. But Arrow, right? Your question, Arrow, right? When it comes to Base, I'm just going to show you this. DeFi Llama chains. We'll go to Base. All right, I'll do this first. Sorry, DeFi Llama goes kind of slow. This is just important. This is good for everybody to learn this stuff, okay? If you go to DeFiLlama.com and you click on chains right here, you can see the total value locked within each different ecosystem in here. And so as you can see, obviously Ethereum is your leader with $49 billion in here. But, you know, there's Base at number 7 there, $1.46 billion. You can see the TVL is massively growing over here in Base, but where's the majority of it going? Aerodrome Finance DEX, right? So if Base is growing at a rapid rate and the most of the TVL is going to Aerodrome, you know, kind of an investment thesis there, right? Will that continue to go? The problem is kind of identifying that earlier would have been ideal, right? With how far along we are on it, unless if you're planning on doing DeFi with it, right? Then it still is, but also to remember, a puppy is growing a lot. That puppy's up quite a bit. Whether it's a good price to get in, and your short, it depends on your time horizon, time thesis too, right? And what are you doing? Are you going to stake it, right? Are you going to stake it for market making? It's a difficult one because of how high it already is and what your plan is with it. Baby Oscar Hernandez, Goo Goo Gaga amigos. I'm happy to hear BCB optimistic. Oh, that reminds me, not Oscar Hernandez. I know you were listening. I did read your message on Twitter, and sure, and I will get back with you. All good. So baby Oscar Hernandez says it's nice to have BCB optimism. It feels good. It feels good. That wasn't fun. So get ready for it again one day, guys. Prices will get high. The crowd will get euphoric. Content creators will make euphoria content and say BCB's an idiot. And I will be, hey, I'm kind of concerned up here. Prices are a little high. That will happen again, but not today. Okay? Not today, but it will happen again. Nick, hey BCB, I love you, brother. Thanks for all that you do. Is the Dow Jones Industrial Average chart a double tap, bull flag, back test? If Bitcoin is an ABC, should it set a new low? Thanks. Conceptually, you would think Bitcoin would at least dip down to a new low for an ABC. You would expect it to. I don't think it doesn't look like a running flat. So a running flat would actually end up setting a new high up here. So you would think it would like try to just squeak out one right down in here. You would think it would try to just squeak one out. Yeah, from the concept of an ABC, right? It should try. But your question about is the Dow Jones Industrial Average a double tap bull flag breakout back test? I don't think so. We like this was this massive monstrosity. And so to like conceptualize where the Dow is right here in this type of setup, it's like the Dow just, oh geez, it's like the Dow just being right there. With what has happened in here, like, and then to get more equivalent, I'm just kidding. Am I? But no, I don't think so. Like this was, right, there's your double tap, your bull flags, breakout, violent backtest into the bull flags, breakout, right? And so that is what we have seen over here in the altcoin market. Dang, did I lose others? Where did others go? It's gone. Maybe it was here. Okay. I don't think so. Not on the Dow. I'm way more concerned that we've topped, like, and also with the Dow again. No es bueno. No es bueno. No expansion. No es bueno. The exact same things that happened in the 20s and the 70s and 2000. No es bueno. We always joke around about how good my wife's Spanish is, and it's actually, yes, it's, yes, honey, it's very good. And I've learned, obviously, all my Spanish from my wife. Okay. Crypto Pigeon said, "Yo, BCB, wasn't there a massive downside wick on XRP in 2017, breaking structure, making everyone think it's over, and then it boomed? I can't find it, though." Yeah, you might have super chatted that quite a while ago. That was a good over 30 minutes ago. We actually just showed it. So I think that answered your question for you. Jay Rocks, yeah, he had said earlier, I know you keep saying you haven't felt good about your honest opinion on the market, but a lot of us have been here because of your honesty. I'm sure of it. I've been here since 2020, 22 cents. Thank you. Thank you, J-Rocks. Mr. Nobody, I already got you earlier. I appreciate it. Mr. Nobody says, "Good morning, BCB. 2 questions today. Did crypto do a spring into a local Wyckoff range over the weekend, possibly on XRP? Is pickleball a real sport?" Hint, it's not. Thank you. Yeah, pickleball is a mix of tennis and ping pong. Pickleball is a way for dudes to say that they play sports. I'm losing half my audience right now, dude. I mean, like, my audience is 95% dudes. I guarantee 10% of you guys play pickleball. Reminds me of the time, like that King of the Hill episode where Hank and Bobby are sitting at the doctor's office because Bobby got hurt doing something. They laughed at a guy. They go, "I bet he's got tennis elbow." And then they asked him, and he said, "Yeah, I got tennis elbow," and they all cracked up. I got pickleball elbow. All right, moving on. I'm just kidding. The fact that you're getting active and you're doing something and you're hanging out with friends and you're having a good time outside, away from computer screens, the reality of it is it's awesome. And you're probably having a really good time and having camaraderie with your friends. I got nothing wrong with that. The reality is, it's not like I play any type of sports that are like super aggressive and manly anyway. So what am I talking about? You guys rock. Pickleball rules. I never played it. I've never played it. So I'm like, it's that same thing, right? It's like Bitcoin back in 2013. I'm not going to touch that stupid magic internet money. Dumb. I'm not going to play pickleball. It's ping pong. Big Aura says, "This time is different. Question: What impact does war and eventually the collapse of the dollar have on the market? Many war good for crypto." I don't really care about narratives. What I care about is this stuff. I care about, dollar breaking, and I don't know why people keep thinking the dollar is going to collapse. I don't know what evidence like you have for that, and it hasn't happened at all at all. Stocks are down, crypto's down. Look at this big monthly candle here on RTY. Look at the big monthly candle on Dow. Is it a surprise? Again, for those who have thought, maybe equity markets don't matter, just take a second, for 1 second, to say, this has been the stock market for the last 5 months. Here we are in this month with this first big ready, and we got a big ready in crypto. While we got big greenies in gold. Just contemplate it, think about it, right? We all try to read narratives, and the reality is, the thing is too, I don't even try to read the narratives. I don't try to read the thing of, is the dollar going to collapse? Is war going to happen? If this country does this and this country does that, and then we do this, but then a cargo ship gets stuck and oil leaks everywhere, then the oil reserves are screwed. And that is my investment theory. Like, I can't do that. I can't do that because I also know there's so much 4D chess that is played. Like, we are the lowest level of information. By the time it gets to us, the plebs, we don't know anything. We're just the pawns. We're just the manipulated. We have no clue on what the true narrative of anything is. So the only thing we can look at is, for me, is to try to find these correlations between asset behaviors. The narratives of trying to even act like we are the lowest of the totem pole on information. The lowest. So yeah. And I don't really pay attention to the narratives, no. Sandal says, I remember you once referred 2017 bull just before XRP went to the moon. It lost its diagonal support. Are we in that same situation? Right. So it's what we had just talked about. That's the only time we had set that lower low, and that's when it ended up going. It's funny that there's 3 questions on that today. Thank you, Sandal. Or is it Sandile? I just want to call it Sandal. I like Sandal, but I'm sure it's Sandal. Andy Philpott gifted 5, brother. Thank you. And then Pat gifted another 5. Appreciate it. Pat and Andy, you guys are always here doing that. Thank you so much. And to guys in the chat, if your name got flipped green, it's because the homies and the regulars here hooked you up. You got access to their little emojis and stuff like that. And then like once a month we do a members only live stream, and they're totally just goofball things. We usually have like 200 people in the members live streams. There's no formula, and I just kind of hang out with the chat the whole time, which is a little bit easier to do than with this. We actually have a chat rate that's about 50 per minute in here, and could you imagine if I was reading every single chat? Thanks for being a straight shooter. What signs do you look for to identify if Bitcoin is in distribution? The thing I would be looking is what has happened in past distributions. And we don't know if that will happen again, but what has happened in past distributions has been a rotation. And that rotation can only last for 2 weeks, right? Where like if something like this happens right in here, and then the altcoin market continues higher, right? Like if the past 2 major distribution tops have looked like this. Where if this, let me get all this off the screen. Okay, goodbye, all my Bitcoin drawings. And I'm not saying this is happening from right here, but just to imagine if it did, if we went back into a retracement like right in here, but the altcoin market shot up a higher leg like that. That would be signals of distributions that we have seen twice. We actually saw it. Get a bigger time frame. We saw it here. Right here, and then we saw it here. Right, so we didn't see that. We haven't seen that behavior yet. But there hasn't been any divergence between the two yet. But if there did become one, that would be like a under the hood thing to make it pretty clear. So that's we don't know if it will do that, but if it did, again, I'll be on here expressing all those concerns all over again. But as of right now, no. Blaine, let's go pickleball. Good for you, man. Good for you. I mean, the truth is, our society, we're so stuck on our computers all day. And obviously not everybody. You drive a truck, or if you're a hammer swinger, working behind a counter somewhere, something. I mean, you're out and about, you're doing stuff all day. But for a lot of us, we're stuck behind our phones, we're stuck behind our computers. And it's very easy to make the excuses to not get any exercise whatsoever. So if you are an avid pickleball player, I actually respect you. I think it's awesome that you do it for anybody. Any type of activity will make you feel better. And if you do find yourself in the slumps, I've been pretty physically active now. I need to ask my wife. I think 3 years going on now is how long I've been doing high intensity interval training. And I decided to start it in the middle of a market dip. And I wanted to just physically feel better about my health. And I believe it was this one right here is where I started doing a lot more physical exercise. And have gone through all of this. And I can just tell you the mental clarity and how you feel about yourself. And just getting any type of exercise and moving your body is incredibly important no matter what you're doing. And you'll just feel good. And you become addicted to it. Straight up. Getting exercise becomes the same thing as drinking water. If you like drinking alcohol, it becomes the same thing as addiction to alcohol. Getting the exercise, it makes you feel good. And you just got to get through the first week or two and let your body get adjusted to it. Then boom, it's a full-blown addiction. So congrats to the pickleball players. Maybe one day I'll pick it up and I'll post a picture of myself on Twitter or something. So, all right. Otherwise, guys, we'll look for stability to continue here in the crypto market throughout the rest of the day. We're at 1 hour and 6 minutes. I'm surprised we actually got through it in this amount of time. That's awesome. Check it out. I'll have a Twitter Spaces that'll be on here in about 1.5 hours over there on Twitter with the Genfinity guys. I'll retweet that. Of course, if you'd like to read about some of the trends going on in the market in regards to contract deployment activity with memes, NFTs, DeFi, we talk a lot about base in here as it seems to be a big trend of where things are going. And if you ever hear people on Twitter, and this was the thing, hear people on Twitter saying, I'm bullish on base. It's like, where do you buy base? You can't buy base, the coin. So I started playing with it, and I was like, oh my gosh. And this is the system that Coinbase is going to feed people to. So check out the newsletter. It was in collaboration with TXMC. He is on board to help with this stuff. I'm super happy to have somebody on board. If you've noticed, there's been more videos, man. And that's what I've needed. I needed some help to help gather data and do stuff, and then collaboration. And of course, these are all my audio recordings. I read a lot of this, and 24-minute audio recording that I record in here. But I'm super happy to have him on board. Phenomenal guy. And of course, that has given more time for me to make videos, which I think you guys are happy that there's more videos now. I've missed it. It's the meat and bones of what I do. But I'm also really excited about this newsletter. So check this one out over here on blockchainbacker.substack.com. There's a link in the description of this live stream. And there's a link I just posted in the chat. Of course, you can check out bcbacker.com for over 40 videos and 11 hours of content from me if you'd like to see some videos in there. Otherwise, check this baby out. And otherwise, have a wonderful, wonderful day. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could, please like this live stream and give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor, but if you ever need a pick me up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.